Gabby, you've called in amazing women in the Las Comadres community.
Oh my god, yes, Jamie.
I want to know more about how they made it.
Yes, right? They're real stories. Where the idea for their business came from, how they invested in it, how they got their clients.
I think this is a podcast.
Well, fairy godmother, you're hosting it.
Do you dream about me? Hello and welcome. We are so excited to have here with us today the Luly B.
Hello, hello.
Luly is part of our Comadres community and she is an inspiring, amazing woman, always up to date with things. We're thrilled to be able to share this with you.
I'm so happy to be here. Jamie.
Okay, so for like the 4 people in the world that don't know who you are, can we have a little introduction into who is Luly B and, you know, what is your business?
Yikes.
Yeah.
Who is Luly B and what is your business? And we have how much time?
Exactly. You can go forever, man. I can listen to you talk all day.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. So I am a mother first. And the reason why I say that is because I think for me, becoming a mom really changed everything for me. And it's actually what inspired me to be a business owner. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I am a brilliant inspirational leader, and I empower others to use their gifts to experience joy. And I do that through workshops and inspirational events and masterminds and one-on-one coaching. And the reason why I do all of that is really because I find that there's a huge opportunity to really start celebrating everything. I find that we're not celebrating enough, and I get to inspire people a lot through celebration. I started my business, as I said, because I became a mom. So I was in the corporate world for many, many years, and I was at corporate with when my first son was born, George, and I actually had a boss that said to me while I was pregnant, "I don't know why women have children." And this was a female boss.
Oh my!
Yes. And I was barfing my brains out the first trimester. It was a very, very tough time. And I was in meetings with all of the top executives at Warner Brothers, excusing myself to go to the bathroom, to go barf my brains out, take a swig of Sprite. I always had my lipstick in my pocket, you know, pucker up the cheeks and the lips, and then come back and blame it on my bladder. And I did that for months. And she made it very, very hard for me to decide, like, this pressure that she's already giving me, asking me whether or not I'm going to come back to work. What is this going to look like when my baby is sick?
Yeah.
Or and I don't know because I'm a first-time mom. Well, to make the long story short, she ended up apologizing to me and telling me that the reason why she was doing that was because I was her number one. Out of the team of 11, I was her number one. And she was so afraid of losing me. And I was 26 years old at the time, and I boldly look at her, because that's another thing I am. I'm very bold. And I said, with all due respect, if you don't want to lose me, don't say things to me like what you've been telling me, because what you've done is you've scared me.
Yeah, you're never going to go back.
I'm never going to come back. And actually, during my maternity leave, I was very involved in the young alumni of FIU, and it was there that I was told about a position. I went to apply for that position. That position wasn't available, but I found something else. The position at FIU that I ended up getting was in the Entrepreneurship Center. And when I end up quitting my job at Warner Brothers, my boss looks me in the eye and says to me, "You're going to be a very successful consultant. And the day that you do, you call me because I will hire you wherever you are." And I'm thinking, that's very kind. What a beautiful compliment. Absolutely not. Consultant, that's so navy blue suit. I am so not navy blue suit.
No.
Thank you, but no thank you. I ended up getting my job at FIU. I totally caught the entrepreneur bug. I was around some of South Florida's most prestigious entrepreneurs. I was running events for entrepreneurship, business ownership. And within 2 years, not only was I pregnant with my second son, but 6 months into my maternity leave, I realized I wanted to start my own business.
Nice. So the first business was?
So my first business, thank you for clarifying. My first business was Chispa Marketing, was a marketing agency.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, Jamie, that I had cracked the code. I was like, I am the biggest badass because this is it, right? I don't have a boss breathing down my neck. I'm going to make great money, and I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to work out. And then I'm going to take a shower and get dressed and do all my client work. And then I'm going to go pick up my kids at school. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to make a homemade cooked, a homemade meal.
You have a lot of time in your day.
This was the idea that I had, Jamie, of what business ownership meant, because I was going to be my own boss.
Yes.
And I was very blessed. I don't have the typical entrepreneur story, because what ended up happening was people that had known me for the 10 years that I had worked at the American Red Cross, at Warner Brothers, and at FIU started to call me and started to hire me. So one guy that I sat in a couple of meetings at FIU was now the president of the foundation at Miami-Dade College. I don't know if you guys remember that campaign, I Am MDC, the billboards, the buses. We ran that campaign for 5 years.
Nice.
So I know we're going to talk about this soon. I'm sharing all of that because relationships are so important to me. And I recognize that a lot of my success in both my businesses, right, we'll talk about Luly in a minute, was based on the fact that I always invest in relationships. I invest in relationships.
So from the marketing agency.
Yes.
Then Luly was born?
Yeah, so I started to invest in myself. Mm-hmm. Which, we're all investing in ourselves, and you all are investing in yourselves in Las Comadres, which I commend you for, right? Because women generally, we don't spend money on ourselves with something like this, with growing personally and professionally. We tend to have a hard time with it many times. And I love the fact that we get to be surrounded by women that encourage us and inspire us to invest in ourselves, right? And Las Comadres is a beautiful place to start to see that. So for me, because I invested in relationships and it was so natural to me. My first year in business was a $250,000 year. I had no fucking clue what I was doing.
That's a good first year.
Yeah, it was a great first year. It was actually my best year of the 7-year ride of Cheese Puff.
Were you working out every day and cooking
fuck
dinner?
No, I wasn't doing shit. I wasn't doing shit. We can say fuck, right? Okay.
It's my podcast, right?
You. So, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so we're talking about Cheese Puff. So I started investing in myself, right? And I go to this event in Dallas of this woman by the name of Ali Brown. Uh-huh. This was 10 years ago, maybe even more. Nobody was a business coach, right? Like nobody was talking about this. There were very few coaches, and you and I had already met at this time, right?
Yeah.
There were very few people in that world, right? And so for me, investing in myself and just being around that was so powerful. And she made an offer at that event. It was a $14,000 investment to mastermind with her. And the thing that sealed the deal for me was that the group was going to meet in Miami. So this was a group of women entrepreneurs from all around the world, but the group was going to meet in Miami.
Perfect.
So for me, it was like, okay, so it's 14,000. It's not like 20,000 of, when we incorporate the travel. Yeah. So I did it. And Jamie was there investing in myself, money that I did not have. Okay. I remember so clearly, I was with my number 2 from my marketing agency from Cheese Puff. Her name is Lauren. And I was like, what should I do? She's like, do it. You deserve it. Do it. You deserve it. Go get him. Go get him. And I'm like, I was shaking as I signed that paper.
Yep.
And I was in a room of women that intimidated me, that were smarter than me, that had bigger empires than I did, that just had it together, which now I know nobody has their shit together, right? And it was there that I was working on, I want to create a personal brand. And this personal brand is going to be Luly. And I'm going to talk about how to get noticed without spending a fortune. And I'm going to be the marketing girl that helps small businesses and solopreneurs market their business. And then if you need social media, if you need a website, if you need any of that, go to the back of the room. I have a great agency called Cheese Puff Marketing. We can take care of all that for you. It was a brilliant model. And again, at the time, nobody was doing this.
Right.
So I was really one of those, the people that was thinking this way very early on, right? And this is like 2012 right now. And I had to do my homework with my mastermind group and my accountability partners. And I had to get up in front of the group and share with them my plans for how Luly was going to bring business to Chispa Marketing and what this was going to look like. Well, I get up in front of the group of these women that intimidate me, that are smarter than me, that are more successful than me, and I am shaking and I start crying. Now, here's the thing about me, if you don't know, I don't do a cute cry. I do the ugly Oprah cry. So I don't do the, like the girls that just, and they do this and they keep crying and no, I'm like, ooh.
I mean, I understand that concept. I have no idea how it happened. I'm like, glasses up.
Yeah. And then saying, everybody keeps talking about balance. And I have no fucking clue what they mean because I can't get my shit together. Because at the time, I had my laptop open while I was cooking dinner. My then husband was coming in and saying, begging me, please turn off your cell phone. Let's have family time. And I was like, you don't get it. And I just had clients. And in marketing and in PR, you're always on.
Always.
There's no boundaries, right? And 2 small kids and horse room mom, and all that other stuff. And I get up in front of my group and I just say, I'm trying so hard to balance, but the next person that tells me that all I need to do in order to be happy is balance, I'm going to vomit in their face because balance is bullshit. And one of the women looks at me and says, stop. That's it. And I'm like, what's it? She's like, balance is bullshit. I said, what do you mean? She said, Luly, women are opening businesses at twice the rate of men. Mm-hmm. But very few of us are making more than 6 figures. Right? And we could argue it's because we don't know how to sell, we don't know how to negotiate, we don't know how to scale. But some of us just are creating jobs for flexibility. Yeah. Right? Because we want to be able to raise our families or go on amazing vacations or take care of elderly parents or be involved in our communities. So she looks at me and she says, I would spend $2,500 to spend a day with you and that brain and heart of yours. And I was like, say that again?
She's like, wait, I can make this easy?
I can make this easy. And so that was May of 2012. By February of 2013, I had written the book. I wrote the book in 6 weeks. I was angry. I was pissed off.
6 weeks?
6 weeks. Balance is bullshit. How being a mom, wife, and entrepreneur taught me that balance is a myth. My publisher was like, you have 24 hours because I kept going back and forth. And he's like, this is enough. And I put it out. It was the same month that Lean In came out with Sheryl Sandberg. I became an Amazon bestseller. I have no freaking clue how the hell that happened. and then Luly began.
Luly began. This is, I love your story because it's so good to be able to it's like when you can see look at it backwards and you're like, oh, it all makes sense. But when you're in the moment of that, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm about to give up a lot of stuff. I don't know what I'm doing.
And you're like in this whirlwind, right? And you don't feel like you're doing anything right.
Right.
But I look back and I'm like, damn.
You're like, oh, I'm going to be following all my dreams.
I followed all my dreams. Like, I was so wise. And more importantly than wise, I was courageous.
Yes.
I was so courageous. And I recognize that now at 41 with more things that I've been through.
Oh, yeah.
I get to look back and be like, damn, I'm kind of a big deal.
You got to keep that on that courage bulletin board, yes, right? Where you're like, look at all the things I did. I am capable of big things.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. All right, so once the book came out, and now everybody knows the balance is bullshit. What are the challenges you were facing?
So, well, the challenges with Luly was I didn't know what the brand was. I had no idea. So Ali Brown, one of my first mentors in business, would say, build the plane while it's flying.
Right.
And I love that.
Flying.
Build the plane while it's flying.
Not only just jump, but build the actual plane. That's amazing.
And actually, I do that with a lot of my clients and a lot of the women that are in my Boost community. I tell them that. I'm like, just test and tweak. What feels good, do that. Let's test it for 30 days. See what happens, and then we figure it out. Because what ends up happening is we stay on the tarmac.
Yeah.
And then we don't do anything because we need a perfect logo and perfect pictures, and I need to lose weight in order to take pictures. And then I don't like the logo on the website, and it's like you keep waiting.
Well, and all that's going to change anyway.
All that's going to change anyway. And even I think bigger than all of that is you are denying the world of your gifts as you sit there so selfishly and so egotistically worrying about a fucking logo that doesn't even matter. And I'm a branding girl, and I'm gonna tell you that. Like at the end of the day, yes, your brand is important. I'm gonna get messages from all the branding people. It's important.
But it shouldn't be the thing that holds you back.
But it's not the thing that holds you back. Exactly. It can't be the thing that holds you back.
Yeah.
And so for me, the challenges were I had to define this brand as I was already out there. But what was so beautiful, Jamie, is because I'm such a planner. And again, I'm saying a story, and I'm getting to like realize, like, damn, like I was wise.
Yes.
I allowed, and I paid attention, and so I started getting hired by corporations. Procter and Gamble. I got the attention of Procter and Gamble, Macy's, GE, Dell, Microsoft, and they were paying me a lot of money to say balance is bullshit on their stages. And talk to women about work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the beautiful part, and going back to that day at the Ali Brown event where I said the balance is bullshit, that woman that said to me, like, this is it. She said to me, there's nobody out there sharing vulnerably and boldly and just sharing the freaking truth.
Yeah.
There's nobody out there doing that. At the time, there was nobody. Now we have a lot of people doing it. But at the time, there wasn't anyone that was willing to say, like, you know, nobody was going on with no makeup. Like now it's like a trend thing, right? Like back then nobody was wearing no makeup or like sharing, you know, and I would share stories that were embarrassing. Yeah. Because I recognized that through sharing vulnerably, I was able to impact and inspire other people.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I think that when we see vulnerability, we always see it as brave. But when we don't, when it's our vulnerability, it's a disaster, right? It's a mess. And you're like, no, people need to see it, because if they don't see it, then they can't look at themselves.
Right.
Because you're like, everybody else is doing it really well. Look at this.
Right. Right. And I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse that I'm very okay with sharing my personal, like with, I don't mind sharing that part. I don't mind sharing the ugly parts.
Right.
Whenever I do panels, whenever I'm asked to do a panel, you know, it can be tricky. And I know you know this because I know that you speak as well. And on panels, I always say, you're looking at us and you're thinking that we have it all together. And I'm here to tell you that we don't. Yes, I look beautiful. Yes, I have a gorgeous outfit and a perfect purse and the makeup and the hair. But I didn't look like this a couple hours ago.
No.
And a couple of days ago, I was on the bathroom floor sobbing for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to tell you that, you know, because that's the other part, Jamie, is that I think, you know, the 3 people that don't know me in Miami, right? People see me and they create this idea in their head that my life is perfect. And don't get me wrong, my life is really amazing. Right. But my life is amazing because that's the lens that I choose to see it from.
Exactly.
And I wake up every day choosing joy and also allow myself to feel the yucky things I don't like to feel, which I think is important. So,
and I think it's important that you allow the people to see the other pieces, because when all you're seeing is like the pretty facade,
that's right.
It makes it like the achievable completely impossible,
and it's not authentic.
No,
and it's not real. And I think we need, which is what I love about Las Comadres, right? Is that we're real. Like I scroll through that Facebook, that Facebook group, and it's like these people are real. I'm not saying that you have to be crying and not wear makeup in order to be real. No. But what I mean is that we get to be ourselves, and I think that that's the space that we've created for ourselves.
Well, and also, it's not only just the horrible, bad, disaster, but also being able to share completely real when you are proud of yourself.
Yes.
When you are impressed by your own, like, oh shit, I didn't know that was going to happen. I had doubts and everybody else kept telling me yes. And all of a sudden now I'm doing the thing that was terrifying. Like, that's being able to celebrate the wins. Yes. I think it's just as important to be able to expose that, and we do that.
Sure. Thank you. And I think for me, that's, you know, when, especially with social media, when I am sharing, the question I always ask myself is, why am I sharing this? Right. And I want to share with gratitude and enthusiasm. Mm-hmm. And that's the distinction that I get to make from, am I wanting to get all the likes to validate myself, or am I wanting to inspire others? And so for me, I want to come from gratitude and enthusiasm. Those are the two words that my friend Mina Shaw actually was the one that inspired that in me. So it's like whenever I'm going to share from gratitude and enthusiasm. And as a result, my post is going to be authentic and true and genuine, and it will inspire.
Yes.
Versus wanting to impress you.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So let's get to the nitty gritty of it all. A lot of commodities and any entrepreneurs out there, sometimes it's like this idea of like, I have to have financing, I have to have, backing, I have to like raise all this money or use all my life savings to do this. You got any financial advice for us here?
So I am definitely not a finance girl or a guru or an
maybe
expert.
not advice on the actual, but like
I'll give you perspective. I'll give you perspective. I love numbers. I think numbers are extremely important. I think it's important to forecast. I do something called Financial Fridays, where every Friday morning I sit. I haven't been as good as about it lately, but it's something that is always on top of my radar. I used to do it every single Friday. Now I'm up to like every other Friday, but I'm still good. I can tell you how much money I have in my bank, how much money is coming in, how much money we're sitting on is out on the street, that hasn't been collected. So I think from the financing standpoint, it's important for us to understand how much money do I need to survive on a monthly basis, and how much money do I need to be comfortable on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. So this is for women that are considering starting a business. This is what I would say. And then the best time to start a business is while you have a job or while you're doing something else, right? And then slowly transition that. So, but if you already have your business, some finance tips are sit every single Friday and go through your personal and business, and run as many expenses as you can through your business. You'd have to speak to a CPA, and I'm sure we have some awesome CPAs in the group and some bookkeepers that could probably support us with this. But things like your gas, your cell phone, even space in your home, depending on what kind of business you are, can all be deductible and could be really, really beneficial. So that's the other thing that I would say is make sure that you have a corporate credit card and that you have an account for your business. I find too many women are mixing their personal with their business. So definitely you do not want to do that. And then just get a sense of how much money you need to survive and how much money you need to be comfortable. So I have my numbers, right? I know and then I know yes, I'm coming, right? And recognizing that there's going to be different seasons depending on what you do, right? And then creating your packages and your pricing all around that, which is the stuff I love to do.
So when people are choosing the numbers for what they're charging, I know that you are magical with this formula.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for the, when you're choosing your numbers?
So when you're choosing your numbers, what I would say is try to, and I'm trying to be very general, thinking of all kinds of businesses. So
I can literally see your mind working.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that I'm including everyone. Offer 3 options. Mm-hmm. And what I found is that most people go to the middle option, right? So how do you get them to go to the middle option? But maybe there's even a way to get them to go to the top tier because it's like such a slight difference.
Right.
And what you get to think about when you're creating packages is where is their value, but not necessarily am I trading my time for money, right? So where is that immense value? So for me, immense value for my sponsors, for example, and my partners would be stage time in my events, right? That's an immense value to them to have 2 minutes on my stage. Because my audience is their audience, it doesn't cost me anything, right? So that would be something that when I'm developing sponsorship packages for my events, that would be something for me to think about. It doesn't cost me anything. There's no hard cost, and it doesn't cost me in time, money, or resources, but it's an immense value to the partner or to the sponsor that's coming in. So 3 packages. What can I do to entice a person to go middle for sure, but then on the high, what are some bonus things that that you can do that can incentivize them, that doesn't cost you a lot of money? And maybe it's partnering with someone, right? So Gabby and I are working on something right now for Las Comadres, of my community joining Las Comadres, right? It doesn't cost me a thing. On the contrary, it brings me so much joy to introduce my community to someone like Gabby and to the community like Las Comadres. So being able to do that, it doesn't cost me a thing. And I look like a rock star, right? Because I'm introducing you to the Gabby Guzman,
Yes.
right? And bringing you into this community, and it doesn't cost me anything. So, so I think that when you're doing your pricing, when you're doing your packaging, looking at that, I think could be really, really beneficial.
What do you see as people's biggest thing that holds them back with pricing?
Being afraid of rejection.
Ooh. Yeah.
I think that there's some self-worth sabotage. But I think the biggest thing, and that goes with sales, right? We take it personally.
Right.
And, I love teaching sales. And one of the things that I always say is that selling is serving. And it's not personal. But the problem is that most of us, especially as women, because we're nurturers, right? It's the way that we're wired.
Yeah.
We want to take care of people. And the way that we perceive the person saying no to us, what we're hearing is, I don't want you to take care of me. I don't think you're good enough to take care of me, or you're not valuable enough to take care of me. And that's such bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? And the number one reason or excuse that people will give you to not work with you is money. And that is the most lame ass excuse ever. Like, it's never about the money.
It's never about the money. The money is the easy thing to say.
The money is and that's why it's the lame ass excuse, because it's the easiest thing to say. Or I just talked to my husband, or my husband said no. Right. And those are all lame ass excuses, and that's resistance. And you know more than I do about all of that. So that's really what that is. So going back, I think the biggest challenge with pricing, with packaging, and with selling is that we're so afraid of rejection. And the second that we detach our value as human beings from whether or not somebody is saying yes or no to our services, and the second that we detach, oh my God, I'm selling, and we make it all about serving and saying this person has a cut on their arm and I have the Band-Aid. How dare I not share my Band-Aid with this person? Because we start to sabotage it. We start to say, like, how dare I, and who am I, and I don't have that much experience, and I don't know. And it's like, well, how dare you not? Who the hell do you think you are to sit on your amazing gifts and hoard them and be so freaking selfish and not share them with this world?
That right there is what everyone always needs to hear.
Yeah. Thank you.
I need that like on loop in my head.
Yes. Okay, good. I'll record it for you.
Hey, I've got you now on record. I'm going to just put it on loop. We don't put it on loop while I'm sleeping.
Yeah. We're so freaking selfish.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that when you look at it in a different way, right? You change the way that you see it, it makes it so much easier to sell.
Yeah.
Because you're serving.
Because you're serving. That's it. That's all it is.
And you then can see, I think, people's resistance has nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with you. Nothing.
And that's the piece that I think, when you can separate you're separating your self-worth.
Yes.
Right? All right, that has nothing to do with
completely detached.
They are not ready.
They're not ready. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always do is, and I always say, is I pray for them. Mm-hmm. And I recognize they might not be ready for me, but they're ready for something else. What is that something else that I can support them with?
Right.
Is it someone else that I know that's in my community that does similar work that could support them? Is there, or maybe they can just join something like Las Comadres, get a little bit more familiarized with receiving support, right? Because a lot of times some of us have never ever received support in our lives and don't know how to even receive.
Yeah, being really uncomfortable in the receiving.
And so recognizing they might just not be ready. So let me continue to support them in another way and offer them all these other things, all these other options. And then when they're ready, they're ready. And if not, that's okay too. Okay. My prayer is always that they get the support that they deserve. That's always what's more important.
So when you are reaching out to your community at large, is there a way that you know who you're targeting?
Is there a way that I know who I'm targeting?
I mean, a lot of people make lists. A lot of people are like targeting specific, a bot that is that person. Are you just like, do you know the universe is just bringing you who you're supposed
to work with? So several years ago when I did my first Superwoman retreat, that was in 2016, I said to the women, I can't believe that I have these 10 spectacular women in front of me. Like, I'm just a magnet for awesomeness. And that's become like a thing for me. Mm-hmm. And I've been saying that more and more even in the last 2 years. And I recognize, Jamie, which is why like I love this question. Yes, I have a client avatar. Right. I know the kind of woman that I serve, but I've been so much more focused on being rather than doing. Mm-hmm. And what's ended up happening as a result of that is I'm just attracting the right people. They're just coming to me. Now, that doesn't mean that I just go to sleep and they're all magically appearing. I'm doing the work, but I'm doing the work differently. My way of being has just completely shifted. I used to be like so rigid and so like on task and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And that took me very, very far in life. And I so appreciate that. But my divorce last year taught me a lot of very powerful lessons, brought me to my knees. I actually have a list of things that I've learned as a result of my divorce, and I have a very deep appreciation for all that pain. And one of them is something that my former husband was always is very good at, and it's being in the present. Mm-hmm. And I was always in the future. So I think for me, really living and savoring this moment right now and not worrying about what I have after this and how much time do we have left. And I used to worry about those things. The timer fell, the phone is vibrating. I do not care. I'm so present to the conversation. And I think that same presence, that heightened awareness and that being is how I'm doing my marketing. Nice. I'm reaching out, just yesterday I posted 5 more spots for Spark Your Why. I'm doing that kind of,
you have to make it available.
Promotion or whatever, but it's not this rigid, and I don't know if I'm being clear, but it's not like this rigid, like you're going to do this, and it's like 842 things and like going to bed exhausted and no. And so I hope I answered the question.
You did.
Yes.
I think the alignment.
Yeah. Yes.
You are getting yourself in alignment.
Yeah.
And knowing that the perfect people will see the perfect thing. You still have to put it out there so they can see it.
Yes.
You have to be able to if you're not going to do any of the things, they're not going to magically appear. The universe needs some assistance.
Yes, of course. And I'm at a different phase in my life and in my career, where a lot of people already know me. So I get to leverage that. I think that's where I'm at, is that I get to leverage, and it's something that I love to teach. Mm-hmm. Right? I love to tell people you have champions. You have people. So Myra Martinez, who is a comadre, mm-hmm. Who was in my Boost community for a couple of years, we did a photo shoot, and we did like a whole video shoot to promote Spark with Luly. Mm-hmm. And we were walking down the street, all of us in our black outfits or whatever. And she looked at me and she's like, do you realize that you have 24 women at your fingertips that are willing to do whatever you say? Like, if Luly asked us to get on a handstand, by the time she finished the sentence, we would all be doing a handstand. And it was a joke when she said it, but what I realized was I have so many people that love me. Mm-hmm. And not only do I have so many people that love me, I have so many people who I get to inspire. And that's a really beautiful gift. It's a huge responsibility. It can be overwhelming at times, but it's such a beautiful thing to know that it's the thing that drives me. That little thing that Myra, and I don't think I've ever told Myra, like how impactful that was that she said it. It was like, yes. And I get to call upon those people who feel that way about me and say, listen, I'm starting up this new thing. Do you know somebody that could benefit from this? I have a couple more spots in this workshop. Do you know anybody that could benefit from this? And I don't feel like I'm selling. I feel like I'm serving.
Yeah.
And my marketing is more about that than Facebook ads or email lists or anything else, which I get to be better at that next year. But for right now, this is working and I'm okay with that. Yeah, you know.
All right. So community obviously plays a very large role in your life.
For sure.
When you were just starting out, how did you build your community?
So when I was starting out with Chispa Marketing, I joined the chamber. I wasn't crazy about it because I felt like a little fish in a really, really big pond. But I stuck with it and I made some really valuable connections. But I think for me, where I saw the most personal and professional growth was in joining BNI, which I need to get back into. I get to get back into. Now with all the amazing things that I'm going to roll out in 2020 for my business, I'm recognizing how much I missed out.
Yeah.
So some of my dearest friends are from BNI 10 years ago. I learned all about the philosophy of giver's gain, which is the philosophy of BNI, which is when you give, you gain. And when you gain, you give.
Yeah.
And there's this beautiful cycle. So BNI for me was really, really, was extremely valuable. And then always surrounding myself with people that were holding me high, calling me out of my bullshit, holding me accountable. So I was always in some sort of group that I had to show up and say what I had done and what I hadn't done. And I'm the girl that doesn't want to show up telling you I haven't done anything. So I would make it happen because I honored these people enough. Right? And sometimes we don't honor ourselves enough. We honor everybody else. So that accountability helps us honor ourselves. So I think that was huge for me starting when I started. And then investing in the Ali Brown thing that I told you guys about, which forever transformed my life.
How about asking for help? I know that you are a huge giver.
Yeah.
But I also know that you are good at asking for help.
Yeah, I'm a badass at asking for help. Yeah.
Was that something you had to shift? Or is it something that came naturally? Or is it something that you systematically worked at?
I probably systematically worked at it, not realizing that I was working at it. And then I think God gives you certain things to work on it, you know, and again,
it keeps showing up.
And it keeps showing up. And for me, it was the divorce, you know, this idea of, you know, here's this woman that has this beautiful life and that is happily married with 2 beautiful children and is on stages and is at the football games and picking up her kids from school. And I really had built this really, really beautiful life. And then my surprise of what my husband had chosen and what my then husband had chosen, and you know, and just all the circumstances and all the things happening afterwards. And I think looking back at 2017 and 2018, like whirlwind tornadoes, and looking back and saying, my gosh, like there were times that I would call a friend and I would say, I just need to cry and I just need somebody on the other line.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't need you to fix anything. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to cry. And I had friends that, you know, I remember very specific instances. And one of them, we had just finished our first mediation. This was before discovering that he had been unfaithful. And it was like the day that he told me I want a divorce. And that night I had to drive to West Palm Beach to shake hands at an expo, like a big technology expo, over 1,000 people, GE, Microsoft, Google. And I had to go through this expo because the next day I was speaking to 100 top executive women in technology. And guess the title of my talk? It was about perspective. And I'm on my way to West Palm Beach and a friend of mine's on the phone sobbing and she's like, you're going to help so many people. I can't help but think about how many women you're going to serve. And that for me just stayed with me, like all these people that were in my life that just told me the things that I needed to hear, that reminded me that consoled me, that sat in the dark with me, that gave me the love, gave me the space, and I received it. But this specific evening, I did the whole expo thing, and my heart was in my neck. I mean, it was just, I don't know how I did that. And I texted a friend of mine as I was going up the elevator to my room, and I said, can you chat? And I swear I had not hit send yet, and she was already calling. And I sobbed with her on the phone, probably a good 32 minutes. Just that cry that comes from down here. And I'm really proud of myself that I have no problem saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem sharing the 18 crazy stories of you saw me on stage, but what you didn't see, you know, and I didn't. I've shared those stories, but the being able to have those people, you know, and I'm using the divorce as the example, but there's also the other parts. The being selected as a faculty for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. I get selected every single year twice to go up to Babson to teach it in Babson. Mm-hmm. And having my friends like call me and say, you're such a badass. Like, you're among all these fancy academics.
Yep.
And there you are. And so, you know, or, you know, I was on Channel 6 being interviewed, and it was like, you're such a badass and you're my friend.
Right.
Like, you're a celebrity and you're my friend. Having these people, back to your point, that not only having the support during the really, really dark times, but also the support, the celebrating.
Yes.
So the asking for help, I have no problem. You know, and being clear.
Yeah.
Like, being clear about, I get that you love me and that you want to support me right now, but this isn't supporting me. This is what I could really use right now. Would you mind if you supported me in this way? Right? Because sometimes people don't know. And sometimes they say things. You know, like, one of my rules is you do not talk shit about my ex-husband in front of me. Like, I'm not interested. Right? I don't want bad energy. He did a lot of shitty things, but he's a beautiful human being. Right? And we get to forgive, and we get to hate the sin, not the sinner. And that's one of my rules. And there are a couple of people in my life that want to, because that's just how they show love to me. And that's how they think they're supporting me. And I get to tell them, I love you. Thank you. I know you think you're supporting me, but I don't want that. I'm not interested in that. The way that you can support me is, and then we get to be clear, Jamie,
yes,
about what that support looks like. The way that you can support me right now is actually do a tap dance and make me laugh.
I'm sure you made a few people tap dance.
I make a few people tap dance.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
The ability to ask not only for help, but like, hey, this is the specific support I need.
Yeah.
Is a skill
we
should be taught.
Yes.
In kindergarten.
Yeah.
And like the ability to use your own words and say, like, this would be supportive right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes supportive looks like pushing you to go to the gym. Sometimes supportive looks like giving you a brownie, man. Like,
just this morning, I was talking to Gabby about that, about the things that I'm going through right now.
Right.
And what my body has gone through in the past couple of weeks. And she asked me that very question. She is like, how can I support you? And I said, I don't know yet. And she offered a couple of, she's like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And she's like, and sit with it, and maybe we could talk later.
Yeah.
And that was it. And sometimes that's the way that we get to receive support, and that's how we get to give support.
Exactly.
You know, but I think receiving support and receiving love is not a sign of weakness. And I think that many times we interpret it as, I'm weak, I'm supposed to figure this all out by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a sign of grace. And for me, grace is very high up there.
Yes.
On my list of things to be. I want to be graceful, and I get to be graceful every day of my life. Right? And how can I be graceful? And for me, grace is receiving, because what we get to realize when we receive is that we actually give. We're giving those that love us the opportunity to give to us. Yeah. And it's this beautiful cycle. So,
all right. So the final question on this podcast is always the word comadre is what mothers and godmothers call each other. It's a show of affection about the relationship you have with this person who is basically in charge of your most important people, your children. So who is one comadre in your life that really shows you that type of relationship?
I am so blessed that I can think of 23 people in 4 seconds. I am really, really blessed, but I would have to say, Gabby. I think watching the way that Gabby uses her gifts, again, for me, it's all about using your gifts to experience joy, right? And seeing her do that and creating this community. And I think what Gabby does so beautifully, and something that she inspires me every day, is the way that she holds space for others, but specifically me. She's been with me in the past couple of weeks during a very, very trying, very, very personal time in my life. And she was the perfect person to ask for support because there's so much peace in her heart and there's so much love, and she fully recognizes the way that you can receive the support and the space that I need to be able to recuperate and recalibrate and reshift my perspective. And I think she's a beautiful example of that, of just holding space for others, being okay with not having it all figured out, right? And then bringing in people that do, right? Like bringing in people that do other things really well that maybe you're not crazy about doing, or you're not good at, and bringing in those people. So for me, she knows how to hold space. She's a great source of peace and inspiration for me. And really, like, she calls me out on my bullshit, but she does it not the way that you and I do it.
Yeah.
You and I are like, bullshit. She never says bullshit. She's just like, well, and then she calls you out on her bullshit.
She says it so nicely.
She's not like you and me. We're like, bullshit. Like, we're a little bit more direct.
We're loud.
And we're loud. And I super appreciate that about her.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So if we are trying to find the Luly B, where do you hang out most online?
Okay, do not email me.
Ever.
I suck on email. Well, you can email me.
It just might take a little while.
But yesterday I went through, I think, like 183 emails. Like, I look at them and I'm like, not a big deal, not a big deal, not a big deal. Not a big deal turns into 2 weeks. Like, shit, I need to reply to this person.
How is it a big deal?
Not because they're not a big deal, but it's not urgent, it's not important. So the best thing really is to text me or to call me. And to know that one of the things that I've gotten to work on is it's okay to call the person the next day. Yeah. And I think I've swung the pendulum to the other side where you might have to follow up with me now, because I'll read the text and I'll be like, I'll call her later, and then I don't call. And not because I don't love, it's just because I'm getting to work on myself, which is good. So text me, 305-494-2644, 494-2644.
I love it. This is the greatest ever.
But if not, I am on Instagram the most. I am absolutely fallen in love with Instagram. You can DM me on IG.
What is your handle?
So my handle is the Luly B, like the Beyonce,
because you are.
Because Luly B was taken. No, Luly B was taken. So it was like, okay, so is it like Luly B original, Luly B official? The Luly. So it's the Luly B on Instagram, and Luly B on Facebook. And I'm on Facebook a lot too, but I tend to hang a lot more on Instagram, and then text and sell voice messages. Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much for being on the podcast.
This was so much fun.
We loved having you here, and thank you. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Las Comadres is a community of entrepreneurial women reclaiming sisterhood and uplifting each other in life and in business. Music for the Las Comadres podcast provided by Afro Beta. Learn more about our community and join us at lascomadres.club.